What is up, New York Mets fans? It's your boy CP, and New York Mets baseball is officially back this afternoon in Port St. Lucie. We have spring training game one kicking off between the New York Mets and the Houston Astros. Before we fully get into this video, this is a pregame of sorts since I'm not able to go live, but don't worry, we'll be going live all season long for the pregame shows between myself and Rob. Please do smash those thumbs up buttons. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and make sure to comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Now, this isn't going to be an extensive video. This is me basically going over the lineup for the New York Mets and some things that I'm watching out for given now that we know what the lineup is and also who's going to be on the mound starting for the Mets and Clay Holmes. But again, the actual feel of baseball is back. It's February 22nd. We are just a little bit over a month away from opening day on the 27th against the Houston Astros in Houston, and I cannot wait. And Carlos Mendoza put this lineup together in which we will be seeing this afternoon from the New York Mets. That top three is awesome. I know that I've been an advocate for Juan Soto batting three in all my videos and streams prior, but I really do think that this top three that is being put out there by Mendoza in game one has the potential to be the very same top three that we see come opening day in Houston when March 27th rolls around. You got Francisco Lindor batting leadoff, playing shortstop. Of course, if there was any discussions about Francisco Lindor batting elsewhere this season, that needs to be put to a halt. You know, we've seen Harold Reynolds on MLB Network sort of allude to that, putting Nimmo back in the leadoff spot and rolling with Francisco Lindor back in the three spot. If the Mets are sticking with Juan Soto at two, that is not going to happen. Francisco Lindor is your leadoff hitter. He performed at an MVP caliber rate back last year when he got switched over to leadoff, and that's what Mendoza is rolling with in spring training game one this afternoon. Juan Soto batting second, playing right field. And again, we don't see Mark Vientos in this lineup. We see Juan Soto batting second and Pete Alonso as that quote unquote protection. And I don't like that word protection because, again, I'm very adamant in the sense that Juan Soto does not need protection, but we've heard all the answers that he gave in these media day availabilities that he's been going and talking with the media, talking about, his decision factor in joining the Mets. The one question that he always had was who was going to bat behind him. Was it going to be Pete Alonso or somebody else, or the combination of Vientos and Pete Alonso? That was before Pete Alonso resigned. But right here this afternoon on February 22nd, we are seeing Pete Alonso play first base and batting third for the New York Mets. Rounding things out in the top four, clean up hitter. Batting for catching is Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Alvarez with his new look swing, a new stance, a new load, a new follow through, really, that emulates the likes of JD Martinez. Both JD Martinez and Francisco Alvarez have been working together and worked together through the entirety of last season. We know that Francisco Alvarez had a very down year, especially with the bat. There's going to be some things that he needs to work on with the glove as well, primarily the blocking aspect of catching. But I'm really curious to see how this new look, swing for Francisco Alvarez actually carries over into in-game action here in game one. Jeff McNeil, who needs a tremendous spring training. I am looking like, for me, all eyes are on Jeff McNeil at this point, right? And Luis Angel Acuna and that ongoing second base battle. I'm sure Luis Angel Acuna is potentially going to get into this game after Jeff McNeil takes his at bat or two and plays a couple of innings in the field. But I am looking for Jeff McNeil to have a hot start to spring training, right? Last year was a down year. I mean, quite simply for Jeff McNeil, there's no way around it. He had a little bit of a hot stretch in the second half before he unfortunately went down with an injury. So we wouldn't have been able to see, if that was sustainable or not for him. But he really needs to come out of the gate swinging, literally and figuratively. And what better way than spring training game one? So I'm very curious to watch closely the at-bats for Jeff McNeil. And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, it is spring training game 1, so we are watching these players and what they're producing and the process of all their at bats and pitches, etc. I'll get into Clay Holmes here in just a second, but it's undeniable this early into spring training, especially spring training games, that the pitchers are far ahead of the hitters in terms of what the actual results are going to be. So when we watch these at bats, for me, the end result is awesome, right? For base hit, double, extra base hit, etc. But what is the process? Do they look like they're on time with their swings, or are they late? You know what I mean? Are they chasing pitches out of the zone? That's something that we're going to continue to monitor, especially out of Pete Alonso, in terms of chasing pitches out of the zone, primarily the curveball and the slider. So those are the types of things that I'm watching out for here, and that's what spring training is all about. Luis Torrens gets the DH duties today, batting 6. Brett Baty, another name that appeared in my video yesterday. If you missed it on the channel, I named my top 5 Mets fringe players, quote unquote, that are potentially on the cusp of winning an opening day roster spot that need huge spring trainings in order to do so. And Brett Baty came in at number 2. If you missed that video, I'll link it down in the description down below for you all to view if you missed it. But Brett Baty is batting 7th today and playing third base. So again, he's been getting reps at third base, his natural position. He's been getting reps at second base, up the middle, and also first base as well. So they are trying to create the most versatile version of Brett Baty defensively and just hope that his offense takes off here early on into this season. Now, again, the outlook for Brett Baty, it's an uphill battle to climb if he's actually going to win an opening day roster spot. I still don't think it's likely, but it's going to feel really good for us Mets fans and for himself to get off to a very hot start in spring training. That starts today. Jose Azocar is getting the start in center field as well. And then Rafael Ortega is batting 9th in left field today as well. So those are some guys to watch out. Clearly, they're not going to make the open day roster, we could assume, but some AAA depth in the outfield to watch out, rounding out the lineup 8 and 9. Now, Clay Holmes. Let's get into Clay Holmes here just a second before we round things out. And by the way, the Houston Astros lineup actually has 2 former New York Mets players. I know I don't have it up here on screen, but Zach Short and Ben Gamel are both short time Mets. They weren't really New York Mets for long in the organization, but they are getting the start today. So we will see a couple former Mets against their former team. Clay Holmes is on the mound today. Now, I can expect maybe an inning, maybe 2 out of Clay Holmes. That's what we're going to expect to see. He is clearly, as we've been talking about all offseason long, when he signed that 3-year deal with the New York Mets this offseason, he's going to be working out of the stretch. So he's a reliever turned starter, but he's not going to be working out of the windup, which is a little bit unusual for a lot of starting pitchers, even if they make that transition from the bullpen. We saw Seth Lugo he has both in his arsenal in terms of working out of the stretch and the windup. But really, Clay Holmes is going to be working out of the stretch at all times. I haven't even actually seen Clay Holmes work from the windup, so I'm actually curious to see how that looks like for him. But I'm curious to see Clay Holmes in terms of the actual new pitch, that kick change that he possesses and he's been working on, and seeing it in live action. Now, there is a lot of question marks in terms of this rotation, especially after the Frankie Montas injury. And again, these reps early on in spring training are not so much about the result, but getting comfortable with new roles, just like Clay Holmes is trying to do in the starting rotation, getting the command and the feel for any new pitches that they have in their arsenal. And Clay Holmes having that new kick change it's going to take some time. And these are the reps early on in spring training that you are supposed to be trying what works, what doesn't. And I know that people and Mets fans are going to get bogged down by the end result of it all. If he goes out there and gives up a couple of runs, everyone's going to lose their minds. But I'm curious about the process of it all. We'll talk about results midway through spring training, etc. And I know that's not the most popular opinion because, again, when you talk about Brett Beatty, Luis Angel Acuna, and some of these other fringe guys, they're fighting for roster spots. So the end results matter to them. But the guys that we know that are going to be on this roster, no matter what, we're talking about Lindor, Soto, Alvarez, Alonso, Clay Holmes, right? Those guys are getting the feel for these everyday reps and these consistent reps that, they are taking in their respective positions, etc., both defensively, pitching wise, and offensively. So Mets fans, the smell of baseball in Port St. Lucie is back. It's in the air. It's lovely. There is no better time than the start of baseball season. And the only better time is if the Mets are in playoff baseball, postseason baseball come October, hopefully going into November into the World Series. So that's the end goal. The road, the journey in this 2025 season starts today. This was a little bit of a pregame from me on the True Mets Talk podcast. Again, could not go live. We will be going live on the Amazing Mets pregame show all season long between myself and Rob. Make sure to smash the subscribe button if you want pregame coverage all season long, post-game coverage. I'll be live tomorrow after spring training game 2 on Sunday. We'll see if Rob's going to join me, but I will be live on the channel. I have the stream set up already, so make sure to check that out. I thoroughly appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And if you are excited about Mets baseball being back and finally getting some in-game action right on your TV screen, comment in the comment section LGM. It's your boy CP. This is the True Mets Talk podcast. I'm out. Peace.